matter of the people of the state of California versus Orenthal James Simpson, case number BA096.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what
We
you
are
can do for
recording, we
your
are
country.
live, and we are joined by somebody that we will introduce here in a little bit. Taylor, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Well, now's the later part. We're going to introduce
God.
another. We're gonna
So far, so good.
introduce-
This is perfect. I have no notes. We're doing great so far.
We are doing a special episode today with one of our number one fans, and this is something that other fans should take note of, because if you want to be on the podcast, you can by writing to us and letting us know what you're into, and then we have to have a little bit of a sanity check after that, but then we can move on with it. But we're joined here by one of our number one fans, Juan Carlos, who is married to Taylor. Hi, Juan. How are you?
Oh, hey. I wouldn't say I'm one of the number one fans. I think I am the number one fan.
I think so too.
I just want to make sure that that's known to the other contenders for number one, that they really have to show up if they want to unseat the number one fan. I've listened to every single episode at least once, if not more than once. I wouldn't say that that's like true for everything, but I'm pretty intense on my doom to fail. So
Sometimes you'll be listening to something and I'll be like, "Are you listening to me?" And you're like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "That's so cute. Thank you."
Juan is definitely a top contender for our one and only autographed Doomed to Fail poster, and soon to be album that Juan himself will have to produce, and then we can sign it for him. So we are joined here with
limited
Juan today.
edition hot merch.
Yes.
Super limited by necessity. Taylor, do you want to go ahead and introduce the show?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Doomed to Fail. We bring you historical disasters and failures, and I am Taylor, joined by Fars and Juan Carlos. Welcome.
We are here. So we decided to do something a little bit different this episode, which was having Juan on, and he's going to tell us the story, and then Taylor and I were going to be the captive audience, whereas usually it's with one or the other, and so that's kind of the direction we're going to take it today. So hopefully y'all enjoy. Is there any banter-related items we should go through?
I think the only thing that's probably valuable, at least from my end, is noting that I am massively into mental models. I've been writing and talking and now building my own app and card deck with them. So this story is going to talk about both historical disasters that is very doomed to fail, and also backed up with the models that have created the conditions for those disasters. So it's a mixture of those two things, which ultimately I think is sort of the thread that I'm wondering is like the right way to needle through. Hey, these are how models and frameworks for how to live really affect you individually and personally. Hey, these are the reasons why things kind of got screwed up sometimes. And this is a way to utilize them to essentially overcome or hurdle what other people have failed to do or failed to acknowledge before things went awry.
Love it. I love it. And I don't actually know.
That's sort of
very on brand.
Wow.
Yeah, no, I'll call it out as well. I'm actually holding the cards that Juan has generated, Remind, which also will have an app, or has an app currently. I can't remember which. Juan, I don't know your topic. I know that you posted a bunch of ideas to us a while ago in a Slack channel, but you also don't have the memory of a goldfish. So I literally do not know what your topics are. But based on this, I'm going to guess that there's something having to do with confirmation bias, maybe some Dunning-Kruger effect going on there. I don't know. I don't know where you're going to go with this.
Swiss cheese is one of our favorites. Let me get my deck.
We love Swiss cheese.
Oh, yeah. Swiss cheese models are fantastic. So
there you go.
So it's none of those, but I love that you have a bunch of the frameworks, and those are all in that sweet little deck. And I'm glad that everyone's holding theirs. I hope that you're using it and that it's cool and fun and valuable as you play around with it.
It's great. Like what you said, like in the middle of like the day, it's like I'm thinking a certain way. Maybe my mood is affected, and you can kind of feel that bubbling up within you. And it's like, well, let's pull out a card, and it's like maybe this is like kind of like a different way for me to perceive what's happening in front of me. It's super useful. So thank you for this.
Remember when I remember this one, I had the prisoner's dilemma out. Remember when I was like, the moral of that is that you should rat on your friends, and you were like, no, it isn't.
That's
I was like,
that's the
okay, well,
antithesis of what you're supposed to take away from that.
you're supposed to
That's
drag
all you're
your
supposed to
friend.
learn from there. Well, cool. Why don't we get into it, Juan? Like, what do
Yeah,
you have for
Tell
us
us a
today?
story.
sure.
We
So,
will, by the way, Juan, I'm sure you're a listener, so you know we interject with questions all the time, so don't let
yeah.
that throw you, okay?
Does it matter if I go real Dan Carlin at the start? Just
No,
kidding.
Dude,
please
I
Dan
do.
assume
Carlin.
that, hey,
Boom.
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 All right. September 27th, 1986, Cleveland, Ohio, 1:50 in the afternoon. A structure the size of a city block, 250 feet by 150 feet, 3 stories tall, sits in public square, draped in mesh netting. Beneath it, 2,500 volunteers have spent hours filling balloons with helium. The goal,
God.
2 million. They stopped at 1.5 million when the weather started turning. The name of the episode, The Road to Hell is Paved with Balloons.
I love it. I love it. I know this one, and it makes me. I love stories like this where it's supposed to be jubilant and just nobody thought it through to its
I'm
conclusion.
very nervous. So I balloons like whenever I'm like if I'm ever holding a lot of balloons, I just don't like it.
Yeah,
So
you're right,
the
dude.
net lifts, and you're right, Faraz. So that's exactly where this is headed. So the net lifts, the balloons erupt upward, wrapping around Terminal Tower like a multicolored second skin. The crowd cheers. Over 100,000 people are watching. Cameras flash. It's the largest balloon release in history, shattering Disneyland's record from the year before. A world record for charity for 30 seconds, and it's magic. And then the wind arrives, right? The cold front gets in there. The balloons don't rise and disperse as planned. They collide with cool air and rain and plunge back toward Earth, still inflated, clogging streets, blanketing Lake Erie, shutting down the runway at Burke Lake Air or the Burke Lakefront Airport for about half an hour.
All right, I'm gonna ask you a
And
question, Juan.
yeah,
Okay. It feels like knowing the weather would be like a critical component to the planning
Yeah.
process of all this. Like, is it safe to assume
Is
that
there gonna be
either,
wind?
yeah, it's like one of two things, right? Either they knew and they didn't care, or they didn't look at all, which
And
seems
see,
unlikely.
they obviously don't care about like what's gonna happen to the balloons,
right.
right? Because the plan
And
is that they just like go into the air.
this is a huge part, I think, of what ends up being a part of the catastrophe ultimately is, hey, what are the second order consequences of these actions? And so a lot of the environmental factors that occur afterward, a lot of the challenges that come from this, I think are a result of essentially saying, hey, we have a day, we're going to do this thing, rather than saying, hey, we can't do this today because these reasons, right? And it's not like
Um,
this area isn't super windy anyway.
And there is
So,
an airport like near
yeah.
enough, right?
Yeah, but I don't think that they were thinking about it that way. And the United Way, I'm sure, wasn't necessarily overthinking, hey,
It's
these are all
definitely
the
a
different
very
places
80s thing
that,
to do.
yeah. I mean,
That's for
Hands
sure.
Across America, there's all these
that's yeah.
big ideas for, hey, if we do this, it'll really show everyone that this is important.
I'm gonna ask
Hands
what
across America.
I'm gonna ask one more question, and then we can get back to your story, Juan. What happens to balloons? Like, do they just go into space and they're just like in space forever?
No,
I
no,
think they
those come back down to the
pop.
ground, blown up. Yeah.
Huh. Okay.
So they all come back. So if you have 2 million balloons that went up, they come back.
And
Got
end
it.
up in
Got it.
like killing fish, I imagine.
Got it. Okay. Back to your story, Juan. Sorry.
Yeah. So in Medina County at Louise Nowakowski's pasture, her prized Arabian horses bolt in terror at this descending swarm. They injure themselves on fences. And then on Lake Erie, there's 2 fishermen, Raymond and Bernard, that they had capsized the day before. Coast Guard helicopters are searching for them. They can't distinguish between the men's bodies from the thousands of rubber balloons floating on the surface. The search is suspended on September 29th.
Oh
They should
Both
no.
have read
bodies
about
wash
that. They should
ashore
have
days
known.
later.
Oh no.
That's not good.
Yeah. No, no. So the United Way, of course, they wanted to inspire Cleveland. And they planned for months, and they obviously meant well. And then, Raymond's wife sued them for 3.2 million and settled at some later date for some undisclosed amount. Two men are dead because of these balloons, and the environmental effects are real. And so, yeah.
I was going to ask, okay, remind me again. So this was a fundraiser for United Way. Is that what it was?
This is an event that they put on. It's called Balloon Fest, and it was to direct attention
Okay.
toward what
Okay.
they're doing.
I feel like they could have also invited Bono to play a gig. They could have done a lot of things to draw attention besides this.
Oh my God, I hate it so much. I'm looking at pictures and I see want to. Oh, Guinness doesn't do it anymore because they're like, no, you can't do that anymore.
Oh, like balloon
World
releases,
records, yeah. They're like,
world
don't do
records
that.
for
Oh my
balloon
God.
releases.
Yeah, it really makes me anxious. I just don't like it. I don't like it.
It's kind of pretty. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, it is pretty a little
Yeah,
bit.
it's a multicolored, balloons in the air. I mean, it's going to be sort of beautiful and majestic in its grandeur. Really, that, in that sense, if you got swept up in it, sure. But then, you have to ask, I think, and this is the mental model. It's called second order thinking, right? Before you act, ask, and then what? And then you trace back these consequences. So you don't just see the first move, which is letting the balloons out. Woo, everyone's excited. You see the second, third, there's a cascade of consequences as a result. And you have to think about those first, and it's not like the organizers of Balloon Fest didn't have access to this tool. They were smart. They planned for months. They did all of this work. They built a giant structure the size of the city block. They coordinated 2,500 volunteers, but that's a ton of infrastructure to do for a single day. They just never asked what happens after the balloons go up.
Yep.
It's not because they forgot, and it's not because they were lazy. It's because they were certain.
They were probably very similar to me, which they probably just thought it goes into space and it's not our problem anymore.
Cool. At least just gonna go to space. Space party.
I don't know how air works.
This balloon is going to make it through the atmosphere.
They go on forever, just like everything.
Yes.
I wonder if I'm gonna look this up. You can continue. Could a helium balloon survive in space? No.
Of course
Yeah.
not.
Yeah. We kind of. I like that. Like I posed the
You
question.
guys let me look that up. You're both like,
you wanted to.
You seem so intent. Whenever you go to the computer, I'm like, she's on a mission. She can't be stopped. Anyways, Juan, continue.
So it was for charity, right? This was going to save Cleveland's reputation. And I think that certainty is what disarmed the safety mechanism of thinking farther ahead. When you know you're doing good, you stop looking for evidence you might be doing wrong.
That is so smart. That is like that. I think you can distill 99% of human history into I thought I was doing something good. Like,
right.
Exactly. So many examples of that throughout. And second order thinking requires doubt, and people don't like feeling that. Doubt feels like disloyalty to the cause, right?
Yep.
So when you're naysaying something in the moment, and how many times does this happen in like any board meeting that you've ever been a part of, right? Or any meeting at all where, hey, somebody says something and you want to agree first before you disagree. And if you have disagreement in certain contexts, you can be very concerned about that perception in those spaces, especially when a lot is on the line.
Yeah, my favorite thing to do these days is really you didn't put me onto it necessarily, but once I realized you were digging into mental models, I like started like looking into it on my own before you ship the cards and everything else, and it's a very common business practice, obviously. But I don't read a lot of books, so I don't know a lot of stuff. But I now one thing that I try to do in every situation where like a big decision is being made is a pre-mortem. Like
Mm,
instead of going into it being like, how's this going to work out? It's like, how's it not going to work out? That's actually like
Hmm.
that's going to fill more gaps in your thinking than how it will work out because will work out is wishful thinking sometimes. So yeah,
100% agree.
That's
I mean,
fun.
and that I think is like the through line for essentially these stories
yep,
is what could you have done differently? How do you think differently? I think that's the point. And I actually love that you did a lot of research on your own mental models and the pre-mortem is a part of your, now playbook, right? That's awesome.
it feels like it was like I was looking for things that helped me. Honestly, it was more so just like I needed things to help me think more critically instead of just yes-anding myself into decisions that get me in trouble. And like, what are the ways I can put a little brake on myself? And that was one of them.
I think that's the kind of change that most people need, especially right now, where you're essentially force fed information from all of these different angles. And a lot of them you give permission to have, avenue into you, right? And so, how do you get better about thinking first, right?
Yep,
Hmm.
It's something that I continue to see, and it scares me about the way that we're allowing ourselves to feel first rather than
yep,
think first. So
amen.
yeah, there's a huge, I think it's commendable that you're doing that. And it's important work to continue to toe that line where you're unwilling to just say yes or work without a strategy first.
Yep, yep. No, I appreciate that. Um, how did this all end? I'm sure there's like a post mortem to this, right?
Oh yeah. Well, so you don't ask, right? The after all of this happens, people aren't asking, and they didn't ask, and now the wind shifts. These two men drown, and that pattern is pretty much everywhere. And by the end of the day, you're going to see it running through your own decisions, right? And so, you've already seen it because you've done this. Not with 1.5 million balloons, not with two men drowning in Lake Erie, but the same pattern, that same certainty. You've planned something, thought it through, tried to help, and watched it go sideways. So, like in historically for this event versus how we all live in reality, right? This is something that is. It's not because we're careless. It's because you were sure. And here's the
Still
question. Yeah.
don't understand why. I guess like just because it's pretty, it's pretty. And
Oh,
like,
the balloons?
yeah. Like I don't like
Yeah.
I
I
feel
mean,
like
it's just a
I'm
big
missing
fundraiser for Cleveland.
yeah.
It's always
The,
something like, I mean,
really
okay,
fucked up.
listen, I'm not trying to cast aspersions on any organization here, but why? There was this, oh, man, I can't remember what it was. It was something, I forgot who was on Ellen DeGeneres' show back in the day, where they were like, if you guess the answers right on these three questions, then we're going to donate $50,000 to the
Right.
breast cancer awareness. And it was like, can't
And
you
you're
just
like,
give them the money
just give them
anyways?
money, who cares? Yeah.
Yeah, like that's kind of where my head went with this conversation. With like, I don't know, like, did you have to? Because it's like with fun runs, right? It's like
Yeah.
doing 5K, 10K. It's like I know you're trying to give a reason for people to show up, but like, can you just give them money?
I know. And I guess also that's like kids across America as well. You're like, you don't just give me $10. You don't have to hold hands, but it's like fun to say that you were a part of something that was like super cool. And like, God, I just really feel stressed out thinking about being like underneath those balloons, blowing them up like one by one.
Wait, Taylor, this was 65, wasn't it? Or 86?
86. Yeah.
86. Okay, so they probably had uh cash on delivery here, where like they were probably mailing checks in the donations for these balloons, or somebody were like they probably had a weird transaction methodology. How do you get that many donations? Like it's got to be like a somebody shows up at your door and here's your balloon certificate, and then you give the mailman money.
I think so. I think so. I still give $5 a month to Greenpeace every month because some cute little girl like came to my house while I was on maternity leave and asked for $5 a month of Greenpeace, and I gave her my freaking checking account number and routing number, and
Dude, I
they
think
come
that
to
same girl came to my house after your house because around the exact same time that you're talking about, someone also showed up. A cute girl showed up to my place, and I was like, "I'll
hmm
give you whatever you want. What do you want?"
I know. And it was originally like $15 a month. And I was like, I can't, what am I doing? And then so I like tried to go on the website and cancel it. And all I could do was get it down to $5 a month. And I was like, fine, you win, Greenpeace. But
I'm there.
it was a
I've
whole
been there.
thing.
Anyway, sorry, Juan. We're derailing the story.
No,
Please go
no,
ahead.
it's fine. And now both of you pay Greenpeace every month.
No. I actually did cancel Greenpeace. I do pay Morgan's, the
Oh, you
disabled
do.
amusement park. I still do that, and I do another whatever. I have a few things that I donate to it.
I
But
do.
anyways,
I give Wikipedia $4 a month. I could give them more.
Uh, yeah, that's
they
nice.
don't deserve it. I'm kidding. I love you, Wikipedia.
Oh my God, are you kidding? Don't talk about Wikipedia that way. We need it.
This is what's going to get me canceled. Um. Anyways, back to the story, Juan.
So I'm going to head back to Cleveland, but now with the new lens. So it's 1986 and the city is struggling. The economy's depressed. The reputation's tarnished. The Cuyahoga River had caught fire twice.
What?
Cleveland was the punchline of American cities.
Tell me more about the river catching on fire.
Apparently, that river had caught fire twice. I actually don't know exactly why it had caught on fire. I assume it's related to the pollution.
It's hilariously bad.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
no
it
bueno.
could not be
Cleveland had a
worse.
bad story going on, and I think they were trying to right the ship. And the United Way comes in and was like, spectacular time. Something will put Cleveland on the map for the right reasons, finally.
What does
Right?
the
Oh no,
United Way
but
do?
Yeah.
go
But
go with Taylor.
what does the United Way do? Do you know? Is it just like
I don't.
housing?
I have no idea what it does. No, I was gonna
Certainly
say
not the environment.
Rachel's dad listens to every episode, and he's lived in Cleveland for a very long time. I'm sure he will write back and tell us why the river kept catching fire, which I will update you all in Slack.
I want to hear. Yeah, cool.
So the United Way decides to do this thing, and the man from the United Way who dreamt this up had been marketing at Procter and Gamble, and he wanted to rebrand Cleveland as cool. And as an organizer later told Gizmodo, which is much later, Cleveland had cleaned up tremendously and wanted to change their image. And
By
there's this
polluting the
balloon,
air.
yeah. So there's this balloon release, the biggest ever, and you have a Guinness World Record, and it's all for charity. And they planned it for months. They built this massive structure. They recruited all these people, right? And what they didn't plan for was the weather. And the original release time was later in the day, but a rainstorm was approaching. So they released it early at 1:50 in anticipation of the rainstorm, hoping the balloons would rise before the front arrived, and they didn't. And so this cold front pushed the balloons back down instead of rising and dispersing and eventually biodegrading somewhere over Pennsylvania. 1.5 million still inflated balloons descended on Cleveland and the surrounding area.
I love
And
that
so
Ohio. I love that Ohio was like, well, fuck Pennsylvania.
total. Like it'll go over there and we don't have to worry about it
There's
again.
some college rivalry there I'm not even privy to because I'm not from that area that has to do with this. I'm positive.
So the airport shuts down for 30 minutes. Balloons are covering the runways. Traffic accidents spiked across the city as drivers were distracted or blinded by this descending swarm. And then in Medina County, you have the horses that panic, and the balloons washed up on the Canadian shore of Lake Erie for weeks. So,
Oh,
it's gross and coming back from, nature.
oh, there was something hilarious. Oh, I think like this week, a cargo ship that was full of French fries like crashed, and then there was a beach that was like covered in French fries, but like not
It's so
cooked,
much better.
just like
Oh,
potatoes.
they'll cook if they stay in the sun long enough.
How? I feel like I could like lay on like a beach of French fries and be quite happy.
I think that's your retirement.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah. So I think the real question is like, what story did the organizers tell themselves? That's the challenge, the
Mhm.
permission they had. And so and I think this is just the ending of this story, but it's first order thinking, and it's a trap that most of us live in. And this
Wait,
feeling,
second order thinking.
no. The first
No,
order
second
thinking is the
order
trap. Second order thinking is when you
would
think
have
through the
solved.
consequences.
Yeah,
Oh, is that a separate card?
No, there's no first order thinking card
Okay.
because you
it's
don't
what
want to
you
think
do,
with first
Taylor. Your
order
brain's
thinking.
doing it right now.
Yeah.
You don't need the card to tell you to first order think.
Ouch.
Sorry.
Wow.
Wait, no,
No, keep
no.
going. No, you're
Wait,
fine.
wait, that wasn't an insult. I'm just saying,
Just kidding.
don't we by default first order think then you
That's
need the mental
correct. Right,
model
right,
to like
right.
change?
That's right.
Yes.
You're changing the
That
bias,
wasn't an
the
insult.
regular default.
I know,
I
I'm
was
just
just
kidding.
messing around. All right, so we have this well-intentioned system optimized for a visible first step and blind to what followed. And so that's the Balloon Fest. So now let's move on to the Biosphere 2. It's
Oh my God.
1991.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Like Pauly Shore, right?
I fucking loved the idea of the biosphere. I thought it was like the fucking coolest thing that you could possibly think of. I'm so excited to talk about it.
So it's
Go.
1991. The Arizona desert near the town of Oracle. 8 people seal themselves inside a 150 million glass structure called Biosphere 2. 3
Wait, wait.
acres of, and yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I already have questions. It's, I'm only laughing because I'm just remembering how much I liked it. Was there a Biosphere 1? What happened to that one?
I have no idea what happened to Biosphere
Is it
1.
number 2 or is it also?
It's the number 2.
Okay.
That's
Is
funny.
Biosphere 1 the Earth?
Oh my God,
No
yes,
idea.
of course.
Okay, continue.
So we have 3 acres of engineered ecosystem under a crystalline dome. The mission proves humans can live in a closed, self-sustaining environment, a test case for the kind of life support systems that might one day sustain colonies beyond Earth.
Dumb. Oh, that part's dumb.
That was
We're
my
not
Dan
going.
Carlin. Did I
No,
make
that was
the
good.
noise?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I
Are
said
you going to
dumb.
put the sound effects
Yeah,
afterward?
we insult each other by accident. Do you now get how easy it is to happen?
Oh my God, Faraz, I'm sorry that you felt bad for something that he said to me.
Now you're making her apologize?
Ugh.
Like perfect gaslighting here. Just like absolute primo gaslighting.
Oh my God.
So the folks in this biosphere, they had everything modeled. A rainforest that pushed against the glass, a miniature ocean, savanna, marsh, desert. It's all under that dome. Agriculture to grow their food, air recycled by plants, water purified by natural systems. And the whole goal here is 2 years of complete and total self-sufficiency. And the ambition of it is honestly like staggering, right? They're going to recreate Earth in miniature and prove that humans could manage a planet.
Oh my God, you know what it's like? It's like Zootopia. Because you know
I
how in
never saw
Zootopia there's like
Zootopia.
desert land where like the camels live, and then there's like the water animals live in like water land and like the polar bear land. So it's kind of like that. Okay, I have another question. Why would you need to do that? Like, couldn't you just be like, let's
what were
pick
they
our
proving?
favorite of the ways the Earth is and just do that?
Well, I think that they were trying to create the entire concept. So they'd say, oh, we can build all of the ways in which we need to exist in this other space.
What was the point of it,
When
Juan?
you go to another planet. What's that?
What was the point of it?
To test whether you can live for a couple of years in a biosphere so that when you go to another planet, right, if you head to Mars, you're going to need an ecosystem to exist. Who's going to build what?
The biosphere on Mars.
Well, currently it sounds like Elon wants to be the first one on that.
But like someone has to get there first with like their tools.
Researched this. I don't think Juan was researching botanists on Mars for this episode.
I feel like we should watch Biosphere later.
Dude, Biosphere was not bad.
I'm all in.
Is it a Baldwin? Is it Pauly Shore and a Baldwin? And they accidentally
There's a documentary too about the real thing, Spaceship Earth, right?
Oh, fun. I don't know.
Sorry, back to the story.
So 4 women and 4 men entered the airlock on September 26, 1991. The media was captivated. Time magazine ran all these features and the world watched. And the real crisis was invisible and creeping. So several months in, the crew realized their oxygen levels are falling, not quickly enough to notice day by day, but the instruments showed. Oxygen's disappearing. Rather than immediately pumping in outside air, which would have violated the entire premise of this experiment, they decide to study the problem. And so after 16 months, these oxygen levels have dropped to well below normal standards, which is 20.9%. And they go down to around 14%. And it's equivalent to living at roughly, 15,000 feet above sea level.
Oh my God,
It's
I have so
higher
many.
than most cities in the world.
Were any of them dating? Like they probably slept together.
Yeah, of course,
Oh,
obviously. Yeah,
You
I
know?
have no idea.
Um, do they smoke cigarettes? Probably not, but maybe. And
man,
then
cigarettes make a lot of appearances in our episodes, don't they?
I think about them all the time first. I think that's probably why. And then what, were there just like big oxygen tanks outside? I think you're supposed to like
Yeah,
bring
so
those
they have
somewhere.
oxygen that's
Okay.
pumping in here.
Okay. But something's wrong.
Oh, but something's very wrong.
Okay.
They're losing oxygen more than they thought they would. And so the idea that this thing is going to replenish itself isn't occurring. So the crew's fatigued. They're have difficulty concentrating. They're struggling to perform regular tasks, and the carbon dioxide levels are spiking. And some accounts put it at many times the normal of outside concentrations. So things are going on here, and the ecosystem is collapsing around them. And the morning glories are taking over the rainforest, and they're blocking lights from other plants. And invasive ant species are killing off most of the pollinating insects, and most of the vertebrae go extinct inside the dome.
Oh my
And the ocean is turning acidic, and still the oxygen's dropped. So finally, these tank trucks come over and they start driving up the access road, and they pump tens of thousands of pounds of liquid oxygen into the system that was supposed to be self-sustaining. So the experiment continues, but the entire premise at that point is over. It's broken.
Can I wait? I think Taylor, you were going to interject.
Why did they bring animals? Are they like eating them? Like,
No.
are we bringing deer to Mars? Like, why would you bring animals to Mars?
Okay, that question, Juan, before you answer, because I know you don't have an answer to that. Before you answer, this proves that like people back then, like music peaked,
You could do whatever the fuck you wanted in the
but that was
90s.
it. Like we were like we really needed to like do this whole experiment, spend billions of dollars, do whatever it was to prove that humans need like an enclosed atmosphere in space with oxygen and like food and water. Like it's like everybody knows this. Like, why are we doing this?
A
Like, why are
thousand
we forcing these
percent.
people to have
And I
sex with
don't,
each other when they don't even like each other? You
they
know?
definitely don't like each other afterwards, you know? And then, like, what if there's like one definitely not hot one? Or were they all hot? Like, what happens to that guy?
Yeah, well,
You
do
know?
you know that? Was that part of your research when you were looking this up? How hot were they?
God, I'm gonna
That
look
is
it
a
up.
great question, and I have no idea how hot
Who
or not
was
hot
in?
they were, or even what story they told themselves. They were building a closed system and they modeled it and they accounted for the
Right?
variables. And the ecosystem should balance itself out. They just need to engineer it right. And the permission is the expertise equals certainty. These complex systems can be engineered like machines, and they treated a living ecosystem like a watch, as if understanding the parts meant controlling the whole.
Could their family visit them outside of the dome?
No, they couldn't leave the dome.
But I mean, like this, like
Could they
against the
look
dome.
in? I'm
Yeah.
sure they could. I don't know if they did.
It looks pretty nice.
On the inside? Yeah.
Yeah. I can only
Yeah, it's
find one
cute.
person. He's not hot. So I think Mark is he'd be the guy.
So wait, what
And
was so
I
the
don't think
film?
that's why they were selecting people.
Well,
I
that's
don't
that
think so
probably should have been
either.
why, actually.
Right there.
So what is the
Oh,
Doom the Fail part
there's
of
a
this? Like,
bald
or
guy. Oh, there's
what's
one tall guy. There's one
there's nothing
tall
wrong
hot
with being
guy.
bald.
What's the doom
A
failed
lot of
part
hot
about
guys with
Biosphere
bald.
2?
There are a
Everything
lot of
went
hot guys
wrong.
that
The
are bald.
entire
I'm sorry.
experiment fell apart. Oh, what's the doom failed part about looking at the hot guys? That is a good question.
There's one, I think, standout hot girl, and then one standout hot guy. Then there's a bald guy. There's an old short guy.
Jason
I don't know, like
Statham is
maybe they
bald.
had nice personalities.
Yeah, a lot of us have to develop personalities for mates.
You're not bald yet.
I'm working on it.
So
Do you
which
use the chew? Do you do the finasteride? You know?
We're being recorded, Juan. I don't do anything because I'm confident in my baldness.
Okay. All right. So back to the mental model.
which
So
mental
again,
model am I finding now?
so first thing is no, we're remaining. So the mental model remains second order thinking. The
Oh,
whole
the whole time.
story is about second order thinking.
Gotcha. Back on
So
track.
we ask and then what, and we trace the consequences. And the Biosphere 2 team had the tool and they understood the systems and they should have been better at second order thinking than anyone. And so you have to ask, why didn't they use it? Because expertise created a specific certainty and the belief that they'd already traced the consequences. They'd modeled the system, they'd accounted for the variables, they'd done that second order thinking in advance, or so they thought. But this is the closed system trap. It's one of the most dangerous ways certainty disarms the safety mechanism. A closed system has no exchange with its environment. You can't model it completely. A watch is a closed system. A car engine is a closed system. You understand these parts. You understand the whole. An open system is a complex system. It has feedback loops. It has emergent properties and nonlinear interactions. And small changes cascade unpredictably. An ecosystem is an open system. So is a market, and so is a team, and so is a fam. And when you treat an open system like a closed one, you stop asking and then what, and you assume you've already answered that question. And your model is the answer. And that's what happened in Biosphere 2. They asked what happens when we seal the dome. They answered the ecosystem cycles, and plants produce oxygen and systems balance. And they never asked, and then what happens with the soil bacteria, and how does that interact with the atmosphere over 16 months? And then what happens when the concrete absorbs CO2 at rates we didn't anticipate? And
That's
then
what
what
they're
happened?
supposed to do, right?
They
Like
should
figure
have.
out what could go wrong.
What could go wrong?
Yeah.
And they just didn't go far enough.
I
Guys,
have
I
good
would
news.
100% live here. I would
You
live in
can
the
visit.
biodome.
My good news was you can visit. We should go.
It
It's in
looks
Tucson.
cool.
Yeah.
It looks really fun.
Yeah. Well, now that it's open,
Well, yeah.
Is there oxygen in it, or
yeah, they just let
you
that
gotta
come
bring
in
your
freely
own?
now. You bring your own oxygen. When you walk in, they've closed out all of the air.
So the failure here was really like the oxygen system broke, and then they were like, "We're done. We're done with this mess because we don't know what's going on."
No, they kept the charade up, but they brought in the oxygen so they couldn't create a sustainable ecosystem. So essentially, everything's dying in there. The oceans are acidic, so everything has to essentially get pulled in from a resource perspective to be able to sustain, which is ultimately is like the opposite of what they had intended. It was
Got
supposed
it.
to be closed so that they could prove that they could live somewhere without necessarily needing the earth to supply additional help.
Got it. Got it. Fun. It does look cool.
It does look cool.
Like it's kind of my dream life to like live in like a safe jungle.
Mm-hmm.
I could go with this.
I guess I get why they need bugs, but I don't really get why they need other animals. Like, I don't get why you need an ocean. Like, water is heavy, and also oceans are salt water. So, like, what's the point?
Well, it's an ecosystem. How are you going to create an
Right.
ecosystem without the same things you have on Earth?
Right.
Ocean
They're
But
has
attempting
is
to
but
to.
is the way we
recreate.
have on Earth the right way to do it?
Yeah. Well,
Do you have
it's
a
a
better
valuable
idea?
question, and I don't think that they ultimately were able to answer whether they could even replicate an ecosystem, period.
Well, I definitely want to go.
Actually, if they just figured out the oxygen thing, do they really have to figure out the rest of it?
I feel like that's your number one. Do
Well,
they?
they didn't. So the microbes were producing CO2 far faster than the plants could convert it back to oxygen, which is why the imbalance occurs.
Oh,
And the system was off balance from day one. So they
Right.
just had mismanaged their thoughts about what would happen. And that mystery stumped them. So where was all the carbon dioxide going? If the bacteria were producing that much CO2 and the plants couldn't keep up, the levels should have been even higher. So something was absorbing it, and that's the concrete.
Oh,
So the
okay.
unsealed concrete throughout the structure absorbs the carbon dioxide and converts it to calcium carbonate. And the concrete's literally eating their CO2, which sounds helpful, except the process also locked away the oxygen. And so the missing oxygen wasn't missing, it was trapped in the concrete as calcium carbonate
got
permanently.
it.
Oh.
So they built a watch, they got a wilderness, and the wilderness ate their air. And not because they forgot to ask and then what, but because their expertise made them certain they'd already answered it. They believed that they thought about all those consequences, but they didn't, and they couldn't see that coming.
Whoa.
So the
That's
question really
fascinating.
becomes, like, where in your life has expertise become the reason you stopped asking questions, right? Because ultimately, that's the closed system trap. And it's not the only way certainty disturbs the safety mechanism. We'll move on to the WHO versus India.
Okay.
Oh, this will be fun.
So it's the 1970s. Wait, it's the 1970s.
You don't have
India.
to do that.
Oh,
Just kidding. You can't.
Keep going. I like. Hey,
that
Just
was
these are
kidding.
powerful.
these are
I thought you
markers
liked
for when I
Dan
start editing.
Carlin. I thought you liked
do.
Dan Carlin.
I do. You do it.
What, did I not sound Carlin-y enough, or
No,
was
you
it?
did it. You did.
One, actually, like, just to be honest, like when I'm editing, these like audio spikes tell me when one starts, and it's actually helpful. So keep doing it.
1970s India. The World Health Organization arrives with a mission: eradicate smallpox from the last and largest stronghold on Earth. The stakes are almost incomprehensible. In the early 1960s, India accounted for nearly 60% of all reported smallpox cases in the world. The virus, variola major, killed 1 in 4 who contracted it. More than 300 million people died from smallpox in the 20th century alone. This was a genuine plague, and India was ground zero.
Yikes.
Boom.
Boom.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's
Okay.
what I knew you were waiting.
So the WHO has the vaccine, and they have the plan, and they've already succeeded in Brazil, in Indonesia, across most of Africa. Mass vaccination works. Find every case, vaccinate everyone around it in a ring, and the disease dies out. Ring vaccination. The strategy is simple, proven, and backed by full institutional weight of the WHO, and it runs into resistance they never anticipated. So in some areas, vaccination teams encountered significant pushback. Parents hid children, communities were deeply reluctant to cooperate. There were these logistical nightmares and access problems and reporting gaps and administrative failures. And there's this fear and distrust that runs deep in many of these regions. And the WHO responded the way institutions often respond when plan meets friction. They intensified their efforts, right? They're like, this is for the good. So beginning in 73, an aggressive campaign launches. Vaccinators went house to house. In some areas, police escorts accompany them. There are accounts of coercive tactics. They're being pressured. There's some intimidation, and there's documented cases where there's forced vaccination. Now, this doesn't happen all across the board, but this is happening because they think it's at the behest of the population, which ultimately it probably is. But the way that they're going about it is ultimately quite wrong. So academic research acknowledges these methods generated local resentment. The harder these people campaign, they get pushed into the harder the campaign pushed into these resistant areas, the more some communities evaded the teams. People hid their sick, and the trust eroded. The campaign eventually succeeds, and the last case of naturally occurring smallpox was recorded in Somalia in 1977. And smallpox becomes the first human disease ever eradicated.
Good for humans.
That seems good.
This
Yeah.
reminds me, one, of when the CIA was trying to find Osama bin Laden. And so they did like vaccine programs in that part of Pakistan because they're trying to like get people to like get their blood to figure out who's related potentially to him. And now
Yeah.
like nobody in that region will ever take a vaccine ever again. Or it was the Red Cross. Sorry. It was like the Red Cross, but I think the CIA embedded or something, whatever. I don't know the full story, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And in those resistant pockets in India, success didn't come through that pressure alone. It came when they shifted, right? So when someone started asking a question that had been overlooked by a lot of these folks that were pushing hard, why are they resisting? What story did the WHO tell themselves in those difficult regions? We have the vaccine, we have the plan, we've done this. And so, the permission that they gave themselves is their map's accurate. And if reality doesn't match, push harder. And they weren't wrong about the vaccine. They weren't wrong about the epidemiology of it. They were just wrong about assuming the territory would simply comply with the map.
Right.
Right. So the safety mechanism, ask and then what? Trace those consequences. The WHO just like in all these other instances, had this tool. They were epidemiologists. They eradicated smallpox in other places, right? And they understood the disease transmission and the vaccination coverage and herd immunity. And they should have been better about thinking about individuals.
As the resident brown guy on the podcast, logic holds no sway over cultural things,
Hmm.
values, and ways things are done. So I can, I think the fallacy here is thinking that the things that you care about are what the other party might care about as well, which is not getting sick. And sometimes some of those cultures hold other values higher than that. So
Yeah. I mean, when the WHO and local health officials investigated why certain communities resisted, they learned about Shitala Mata. And that's the cooling mother. It's a Hindu goddess associated with smallpox and other pox diseases. In temples across India, you'll find her image, this woman riding a donkey, carrying a pitcher of water and a broom. And for many traditional Hindus, smallpox wasn't purely a medical event, it had spiritual dimensions. The disease could be seen as a visitation carrying meaning beyond biology. And so for some, the vaccination felt like interference with forces beyond medicine.
I
But that
just
wasn't the only gap.
sighed my face off because religion is so fucking stupid. Like, of course, you would make something up to make you feel better about having this terrible fucking disease, you know?
we are tolerant people here, Taylor. People can believe what they want to believe. They are not stupid for their beliefs. People are different, and we tolerate people.
We tolerate people. I'm
Some
iffy on the
first,
stupid part.
some first order thinking going on over there.
It wasn't the only gap. It's just one of the gaps. There's
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
caste dynamics too. So in certain communities, people
course.
would only accept care from individuals they considered socially appropriate. And a vaccinator from the wrong background touching someone could be deeply offensive. And they
Hmm.
learned about PERDA.
Well,
Among some Muslim families, male vaccinators couldn't examine or vaccinate women. Access required female health workers. So they learned about trust. In a country with complex history, strangers arriving with needles accompanied by
yeah,
police triggered
fine.
suspicion that had nothing to do with the vaccine itself. And the map was medically correct, right? Everyone thought it's just that the territory was socially, religiously, and historically layered in the ways the map didn't capture. And the campaign's
Yeah.
success accelerated when they adapted to the territory. So ultimately, they do make all of these choices and changes. Local health workers from the same communities, sensitivity to caste dynamics, female vaccinators reach women in conservative households, integration with local leadership. They end up doing the right things. It just takes them a while to get there. And the cost is time. Eventually, India declares smallpox free in 1977. And it's not because their map got better, it's because they finally applied second order thinking to the territory. Their map had simplified. So that's the map trap. And it's a third way certainty disarms this safety mechanism. So that's the three domains. Same permission structure, balloon fest. Good cause means exempt from scrutiny. Biosphere, expertise meets certainty. WHO, our map is accurate. Reality should comply. But this isn't just history. This pattern is everywhere. It's in prohibition, right? 1920, the 18th Amendment, alcohol is destroying families, fueling violence, corrupting society. And the solution is ban it. The noble experiment, right? Outcome, of course, it's the term organized crime didn't even exist really in America before prohibition. Like the concept of organized crime obviously does, but the idea, like the same way that we have like the idea of a bucket list now, and that was a creation of the movie Bucket List from the Morgan Freeman and Jack Nicholson picture. So
More salient example is the cartels who only exist because of the prohibition on drugs
Right.
today.
And Al Capone was pulling in $100 million a year by the mid 1920s. He was spending $500K a month in bribes to police, politicians, and federal investigators. And alcohol didn't disappear; it went underground, and it's less regulated, and it's more dangerous. And you have these, the bathtub gin killing people and speakeasies flourishing, and desperate
Mm-hmm.
drinkers switch to whatever they could find. And it's opium and marijuana and cocaine and, medicines with dangerous additives. And this experiment became the only constitutional amendment in American history to be repealed by another amendment. And so the 21st undid the 18th.
Mm-hmm.
The road to speakeasies was paved with temperance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because a lot of women were like, I'm
My
sick of
husband
my
gets drunk and beats me.
exactly like every fucking day. And we didn't think about it. And then the only reason Prohibition passed in the first place was because women were allowed to vote. I think that was the 17th, right? Oh, 17th Amendment is that you get two senators. That's boring. Women's right to vote.
Seriously? That's the 17th of... Really?
Some of them are dumb.
You
19th.
know,
19th is
How
women.
did
So
how
19th
did
couldn't be
the
Prohibition.
Dakotas get that? Like I don't good for them.
18. Oh, yeah. Okay. 18 is Prohibition. 19 is women. That's interesting. Maybe I'm wrong on that.
well, let's flash forward.
Okay.
So, same thing's true when you think about Facebook's move fast, break things. 2012, Mark Zuckerberg writes this letter to investors, Facebook's internal motto, move fast and break things, right? The idea, he explains, is that if you never break anything, you're probably not moving fast enough. And speed equals innovation and disruption equals progress. Break things now, fix them later. And the outcome is election interference in 2016 with the whole Cambridge Analytica scandal. And there's 87 of these profiles without consent, a misinformation pandemic that preceded the actual pandemic, and a teen mental health crisis that the company's own internal resource documented but didn't address. And so you have in 21, this whistleblower, Hogan, released internal documents to Congress, and there's studies on teenager mental health alone. And the company's own research found that Instagram harms teenagers, especially teenage girls, and the company
Mm.
knew it. And then you have, Chamath, famous, former vice president of growth, one of the people who built the platform, said the short-term dopamine-driven feedback loops that we have created are destroying how society works. No civil discourse, no cooperation, misinformation, mistruth. After the 2020 election, we all know what happens. The company disbanded its civic integrity team, the team that monitored election interference and political extremism. And then you have a 2025 study that found that only 8 out of 47 think that there's teen safety features on Instagram actually work as advertised.
Mm-hmm.
They moved fast and they broke a lot of things. And democracy, mental health, the information ecosystem. The company dropped the motto in 2015, but the breaking continued. It's the same pattern, good intentions, or at least good sounding justifications. And so
Mm-hmm.
your first order thinking is there, but you have catastrophic second order consequences.
So I have opinions.
Yeah.
I think that we are in the midst of human evolution towards tech, and I think this was all inevitable.
What?
Oh,
Like that Facebook is dangerous?
I don't know if I call Facebook dangerous. I think that anything that is, I think we were going to end up here anyways.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the natural endpoint of AI isn't more connectivity. It's going to go further towards silos
Yeah.
because then you can create everything as a silo of a subculture of a subculture of a subculture. Like you don't need things like social media, but like this is like the first foray into that. But I think like that's just like I don't know. I feel like we're part of like this is like a evolutionary thing. But
Yeah. I mean,
and I
you
agree. I
can't
mean,
stop people.
yeah.
technology certainly exists in that way. Can you work on how to do things better? I think there, of course you can, and so speed can often be to the detriment of decision making, which can lead to worse consequences.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Are there scenarios where social media could have done more better, of course. Like
And I
there's
think,
no doubt you could have changed that narrative and made it less dangerous for certain aspects of societal change,
and then it would have
like
been like less addictive and they would have made less money, right?
persuasive patterns. Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's like, well, we're gonna do this anyway, I guess. Like they
I
don't,
mean,
I don't think
I
that
guess
Facebook
that's the
has good
point.
intentions. Like I think
I guess that's
maybe,
the point. If it wasn't them, it's somebody. Like
yeah.
I think, like again, like humans are always going to like the root at the core of our brainstem is a need to progress and do things and change and innovate and
Mm-hmm.
move forward. And you don't know what you're innovating into. You don't know what the vacuum you're going into is until you're inside of it. And then
Mm-hmm.
you realize, oh, this vacuum's huge, and now I got to start building blocks and barriers here and there, and do whatever. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't think it's like a matter of like good and evil. I think it's a matter of like anything that pushes the boundaries or changes fundamental human interactions and dynamics is going to implicitly, it's going to, by its nature, it's going to introduce dangers that you could never perceive because it's novel and it's new. That's literally why AI is going to kill all of us, by the way.
Yeah. I mean, I guess like you
So
like couldn't have invented cars without like knowing people were gonna die in them, right? But you're like,
Yeah.
oh, but like the good outweighs the bad.
right, the ends
Yeah. I mean,
justify the means in those. It's just how certain are you of that, and how realistic is it to think that we're better than that? And then how many Ralph Naders do you need to fix some of those problems,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because ultimately, it's not like the car companies were clamoring for seat belts. That ended up
yeah.
being
Right.
someone else. And so
Mm-hmm.
you
Yeah.
do need those folks that are going to help right the ship in those scenarios, especially if people are going to be ignorant or be unwilling to do something the right way. And to
Mm-hmm.
that point, I think that if you have people that are reckless, that are driving, right, not to continue this metaphor, then you're
But
going
no,
to end up
yeah.
in scenarios that can be really problematic for society.
Mm-hmm.
And you're absolutely right. Everyone's like, hey, the race is on. We can't stop because we want to win. And it's a win at
Right.
the expense of, to your
Exactly.
point about it's the end of the world, at the expense of humanity. And so, are you willing to make some of those choices consciously and think about those consequences before you're so far down the rabbit hole that you can't come back? And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's the same thing that happened with social media. So the reality is that we didn't know what the attention economy was going to do to us at the time, but there were a lot of signs pointed to some really negative end outcomes here. And then we're seeing now
Mm-hmm.
with the advent of AI, at least from my perspective, the introduction of the manipulation age on a much larger scale, which is going to be much more challenging for us to navigate. It's half the reason why I built Remind. This card deck
Mm-hmm.
and this app is built as a way for you to detach yourself from the information that's coming from all of these directions. And to
Mm-hmm.
your point, I mean, all of these things of election interference and polarization and ideology, those are all very well known and relatively well documented, and yet they persist in nearly this identical format. And what did they do? They removed safeguards. They didn't add more. So the
Mm-hmm.
companies that are at fault are removing and reducing because they believe that by doing so they make it a freer place, when
Mm-hmm.
the reverse can very well be true, right?
Big question for you. Why is freer not always better?
I don't actually think that's the framing, right? So I think the challenge with the idea of like, well, we took all the safeguards off and that makes it free,
No, I'm
but it
saying
doesn't.
why is it a bad thing if people want to post extremist content on social media? Why is that bad? I don't understand that.
Well, I think 'cause like people, like children and people can start like
But then they can consume the opposite content,
they can,
right?
but it's not as sexy. Like it's not gonna like once you are watching like
Why isn't it
one
as sexy?
because it's someone like riling you up and like it's like that whole thing of the other like this person is making like this is the thing this is the reason that you know you feel this way and this is the reason that like your life is like this.
Then the methodology of countering hasn't been discovered, but like it's not inherently Like there's literally, I remember when I was a kid and they banned Harry Potter books from our schools because it was like witchcraft and
Oh my God,
not
that's so Texas
religiously
of you.
associated. But it's true. And like even then, like I guess like what I'm saying is like, why is censorship ever, how is it ever good? Like people should have access to whatever they want to have access to.
They should, but also like they're not that smart. Like they're not going to like go out and find the other opinion. Like I don't, like you know me, I live in my silo, and like I feel like most people aren't going to be like, "Oh, let me take a constructive view of this thing and look at both sides or other opinions."
I
Yeah.
I think that so the world of ideas is an important one to have. Agreed. Full stop. There's no doubt in my mind that we should be able to listen to others and hear what they have to say, regardless of good, bad, or otherwise. And in fact, there's openness that needs to exist and occur. In some of these spaces, I think there's power dynamics at work. A few actors can amplify messages, and that can become a cover for
Hmm.
domination rather than open discourse. And there are challenging spaces inside social media, right? And every society already censors. So we can pretend that there's, you know, something that's not there, but reality is that
Well, I think the censorship in most ecosystems comes from the gatekeeping apparatus to disseminate that information. Social media, in my opinion, has broken down those barriers. Like, it's not a bad thing, I don't think. Like, I don't want to have like an editorialized, corporatized view of the opinions of something going on in the world. If someone's on the
Hmm.
ground, they can report it and post it to social media, and I can digest it in that
right, but
format. Then, like,
that isn't
give me
that
that.
isn't that isn't what's happening, and it's not how information is being served to you, right?
Hmm.
You're already algorithmically inclined to get the same media that already agrees with you. You have already, by virtue of what you look at and how you look at it, have given it permission to give you certain kinds of information. The idea that you have some kind
You
of
do have agency. Like, you do have the
You
agency to go
do,
and look elsewhere. Like, you don't
but
have,
again,
like,
most people don't.
well,
yeah,
and
yeah,
and
most
and
people don't,
most
but then you
people
solve for that, not hiding the ball from them. Like, you solve for, like, the problem is most people don't seek out the information on both sides or the medium or the middle or whatever. I don't think the answer to that problem is you hide the ball from them so they can never get access to either one way or the other. Like, isn't the
there
problem you're
I
solving?
certainly don't think that's what was occurring. It's if there is certain malicious or bad actors that are in a system, do you give them the same voice as anyone else? And I don't know if the answer is always yes.
Yeah, I can't debate that.
Um,
Yeah, I don't know.
but of course you want, and this is where I think I agree with you wholeheartedly. Fundamentally, I believe in seeing all ideas. I want to be able to see ideas, but you can have challenges within a system, and that's why guardrails do exist. And if you take off the guardrails, it can be challenging.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I feel
Um,
like I've derailed this so many times, this
no,
conversation.
no. So, I
I
mean,
want you guys to know
further
I've
the
been
point,
scrolling through my Instagram and my feed is still all heated rivalry. So I'm on the right side of history. If you were confused.
You should look
I
at
think
cold. You should search cold friendships and see what comes up there.
Cold friendships?
I have no idea. I'm just making stuff up because
Oh.
heated rivalry, what's the opposite of
Oh,
that?
I
Cold
get it.
friendship.
Wow. That
so.
was dumb.
I'll bring it back home, and we're close here. So you believe good intentions matter. You probably said it this week. I was just trying to help, and you judge people by their intentions. And malice is different from mistakes, and we should give people credit for trying to do good. Intentions matter. But here's what I've noticed: when your good intentions backfire, you blame circumstances. You don't question your certainty. You assume your plan was right and reality was uncooperative. And the feedback that fell flat, they weren't ready to hear it. And the project that failed, the market changed. And the relationship that suffered, they didn't appreciate what you were trying to do. You never ask, was my confidence the problem? And here's that hypocrisy. You look at Balloon Fest with hindsight and think, how did they not see it coming?
Hmm.
You learn about Biosphere 2 and think, obviously you can't model an ecosystem like a machine. You hear about the WHO in India and think, of course you have to understand the culture. Of course you can't force vaccinate your way to compliance.
Hmm.
And then
Yeah.
tomorrow, you'll greenlight your own project with the same logic they used. This is a good cause. We planned it carefully. What could go wrong? The gap between two things, the certainty with which you judge historical disasters and the certainty with which you plan your own. That's where the next disaster lives. You're not different from them. You're them before the wind shifted.
That's a good closer. You're then before the
Jesus.
wind shifted.
I only make good decisions, so I don't really relate to that, but I get it.
Yeah, Taylor's never gonna
Just
have
kidding.
to go past.
Just kidding.
Uh, I I truly appreciated the thought you put into this one because you intersected amazing stories with crazy consequences with the mental model concept. And frankly, what I'm thinking now, Taylor, is like, should we like create like sub episodes where Juan like dissects our episodes and is like, here's the mental model
Ooh, that'd be fun. Like a
being
little
applied?
one, like a little,
Yeah, like
like,
a little blurb, like a 5 minute, like, hey Juan, like here's a story synopsis, and then
yeah.
he just like
He'll be like, you guys, this was obviously the Rumsfeld Matrix, or the
I feel like I know what that
Semmelweis
is.
reflex, or ooh, the Red Queen effect. I like that.
The Red Queen effect's so
It was
legit.
this was obviously the peak end rule, you guys. Priming. Swaddle tendency. No, but I do feel like a lot of these mental models have absolutely. I
There's
mean,
fun
obviously,
applications.
yeah, obviously I said this was cheese one, which we talk about all the time with like plane crashes, because like it
Mm-hmm.
wasn't one thing, it was a whole bunch of things aligned to make a whole. Um, and then yeah, so I think that they can really kind of pop out, which is fun because you're like, oh, that absolutely makes. And like, I also feel like maybe some of those bad decisions. I'm just looking through this, but like sunk cost fallacy, I think comes up a lot, especially with like
Mm-hmm.
Facebook. Like, you're not gonna stop doing Facebook because kids are dying. Like, that's not something that you're gonna even consider, you know? So like, that's like you're already doing that thing. You know what I mean.
I was gonna
Thank you
say,
all.
I was
Game theory.
okay.
Prisoner's dilemma. I
We,
was, if,
we
you guys, if we go to jail, I'm going to tell you literally
yes,
immediately. So I just want you to know. This is
But
my
then we
personal.
know.
that we tell on
You
you
know that I'm going to
first.
tell on you, so you do whatever the other thing is, and then you'll be out,
We go
right?
first.
Or we both go to
Yeah.
jail for like a smaller amount
Mm.
of time.
I think everybody in this hypothetical, it's gonna be a bank robbery. It's gonna be a heist of the Louvre, and we're all going down
I
for it.
am going to make a deal, just so you guys know.
Um, guys, we got to wrap it up.
I
Juan,
know
that
it's
was
late for you.
awesome.
Thank you, Juan
Thanks so
Thank
much for
you.
having me,
Carlos.
y'all.
Thank
Appreciate
you
you.
so much. That was fantastic. Taylor, do we have to lead off with anything?
Well, I'll let you know how Biosphere is. We're going to watch it later, Juan. Looking at you. And um, I think that that is it. I haven't had any. Oh, goodness. They caught Ryan James' wedding. That's the big
Ah,
news.
incredible.
Okay, so he turned himself
Daniel
in.
Shepard and Nadine both messaged us about this. So we got
Hmm.
two of our listeners messaging us separately about this. It was awesome.
I mean, I'm like, that's crazy that I put out an episode on him on Monday and they caught him on like Friday, or what, he like turned himself in on Friday. And
They
so then
were
I did it
probably listening to us while they're in the
like,
helicopters landing in
unbelievable.
Mexico.
So I put it on TikTok and then I put it on Instagram and I boosted it because I was like, this is exciting, you know? And holy crap. So on TikTok, everyone was like, that's cool. This story's crazy. On Instagram, everybody, I told Nadine because Nadine lives in Canada and I like boosted it to Canadians because I was like, I think Canadians would be interested in like our episode. And the comments were so fucking mean. And I was like, I should boost it to Canadian women because the Canadian men were like, this is old news, girl. And I'm like, it happened this morning. What the hell? Like they're just beyond mean. Um, and yeah,
I was
That's
very
all.
impressed. I think that someone is a listener that actually is on the pulse or something.
I think, and I said this in the last episode, and it's stupid, but I feel like I'm just so close, you know? Like, that's crazy. I don't know.
Dude,
Like,
you
we've
are
never heard of
plugged
this
in.
guy. And then, like, all of a sudden he's caught. Like, oh my God.
You are plugged in.
One person
Coincidence?
did
I don't
say,
think so.
one person said, that's my husband. And don't talk about him like that, which I thought was hilarious. So, like, thank you, that person, for commenting, but no thank you to everyone else who commented. But anyway, we got more listens. It has like a lot, exponentially more listens than our other episodes, and because people were looking, so I hope that you've stuck around because that is super exciting. So thank you. And if you have ideas or thoughts, please don't leave me a mean comment. Keep that in your brain. But email me, doomedtofailpod@gmail.com. DM me on Instagram. I will talk to you there. I'd love to hear your
DNFLpod
ideas.
at gmail.com. Please do write to us. We do love getting those.
Hey, thanks, y'all.
Oh, hey, Juan Carlos, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure. I know that you're like in the other room, but it's been fun to see you. And thank you for sharing your Remind deck with us. I know your website is remind.coach. And right, is that correct? And
Mhm.
on the site, you can buy the mental model deck. It has like 100 mental models, and like a card deck, and you can use it like a tarot card. Just like pull one out and like think about how you're going to use it for your day. And then you can also there's an app where you can look them up. There's more mental models on the app. And then you can be there as well. So if you do end up buying the Remind deck, and you put in your order notes that you heard about it on Doom to Fail, I'll throw in some Doom to Fail stickers because I am the shipping department. But I'm very excited to share this one. It's so cool that this is a physical thing that we have in our hand. And your daughter wants to say something. Go ahead. Hello. She says hi.
Hi.
Oh,
But
wait,
thank you so much.
so I'm putting this in the beginning, is that right?
No, at the end.
Oh, then okay. I'm gonna edit
Yeah.
myself out saying this. Um, awesome. Thanks again. Thanks to both of you, three of you. Sorry, Flo. And we'll get this uploaded again. Write to us at doomtofellpod@gmail.com. Find us on all the socials. Doomtofellpod. I think that's it.
I think that's it.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Awesome.
And
guys.
stay safe, Fars. I know you got some more winter weather coming your way, so stay safe in your winter event.
We'll
I,
do our
I can't
best.
wait to listen to this because it'll be like listening to my favorite friends on my
Aw,
favorite podcast, but with me
man.
in it.
And your voice is so
So
buttery
cool.
smooth. Everybody is going to be excited. They're going to say amazing things. I'm positive.
Oh, wait, I'm so
Uh,
sorry. I have one more thing. Okay,
yeah.
I forgot to tell you this. So when I was in fifth grade, we did a thing where we got to pretend that we were on a spaceship, and I got to be one of the astronauts, and there were like four of us, and we went into a thing that was kind of like the Biosphere. It was in a classroom, and it was like a big tent, and we had to be in there all day, and we had to like do science experiments, and then like do like the walk on those like moonwalk shoes, like in the classroom, and then like if we had to go to the bathroom, they had a wagon, and they'd like pull a wagon up to the thing, and you get into it, and the other kids would take you to the bathroom, and they would like on it, like it was a box. And I just have really cute pictures of me like dressed like an astronaut. And that kind of reminded me of the Biosphere.
If you have the pictures, they have to go in the Insta post.
It's real cute, so I will show you.
We got to do it.
Yeah.
Um, Sweet. Thanks,
One more
guys.
thing.
I'm going to go ahead
Go.
and cut the
Thanks.
recording off.
Sweet.